Some of the things that we're trying to do with the Mobility Club is we're trying to keep the topics fresh, we're trying to keep things new and get relevant information to people. So there's some interest in it, and ultimately so people can grow. I mean, that's why we're doing it. So last time we met, we were looking for some topics. We really didn't have a whole lot come back. And then George and I met, and we talked about some opportunities for, well, what George and Alex do, and you're going to hear about that tonight. But we talked about some of those things, and it hit me like a ton of bricks that these guys are important people to our community. And I think what they're going to be able to talk about tonight is things that are going to help everybody in this room get some more opportunity in life, right? I mean, that's kind of a good way to put it, a little bit more access to a full life. I'm going to let them, you decide, but I'm going to let them do their thing. But I was real pleased to have their attention for tonight and have their time, their commitment to come here. I'm really looking forward to what you guys have to say. So with no further ado here, this is Alex. I'm going to let him go for it. Cool. Thanks, Alex.
So I'll let George do a small little intro of himself, because after he's done, I'm going to probably talk the rest of the way. So give him a chance.
I'm going to be the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to thank John, Dan, and Rob for having us, and everyone else for allowing us to come into your space to share what we do with you. I had an injury back in '92, work-related. Fell off a loft, which was equivalent to 3 stories, landed on my back and severed my cord. Since then, I've been trying to figure life out, and I think that I did. Pat myself on the butt. So basically, I got involved initially in sports in order to become empowered, and then I realized I can use that as a tool to empower other folks. So my sport is triathlon. So I compete in Olympic distance tries, Ironman, half Ironman. And once I decided I can use that as a tool to empower other folks, I learned that we had tons of issues within our community. Not so much with the individuals in the community, but with the systems that we have to deal with. And one of the issues that really touched me was the institutionalization of folks with disabilities in nursing homes. One of my first mentees, I was in his hospital room when his social worker was preparing his discharge papers, and I learned that he couldn't go back to his home because his home was in a 5-floor walkout prior to his injury. So the only thing the hospital could do for him was send him to a nursing home. And they sold the idea of living in a nursing home, and I bought it myself. I was like, wow, this guy's gonna have 24-hour care, he'll be okay. He'll have a roof over his head, all the care he needs, his meals, he'll be okay temporarily. When I went to visit him a week later in this nursing home, I stayed with him for about 6-7 hours, and when I left, I had tears running down my cheek. It was such a depressing environment to be in. And from that point forward, I vowed to try to make a difference. And then Wheels of Progress was created from that point forward. And our mission is to create affordable and accessible housing for people with disabilities who are either imprisoned in institutions or are at risk of going to an institution, or people who are even imprisoned in their own homes. Some people choose to go back to their homes even though their homes are inaccessible, because they would rather live in an inaccessible home than in an institution. So during the course during that course, I met Alex. And Alex will share his story with you, but I learned that he was one of the strongest advocates within our community, and decided to align myself with him so that we can try to make a difference in the lives of anyone that we come across. So on that note, I'll allow Alex to take the floor and share his story, and also he's the guru when it comes to, he's an attorney, so he's a guru when it comes to rules and regs and loopholes. Keyword. So on that note, Alex, take the floor.
I will give you guys a short intro about myself and the organization that I started, and then I'll get into the topic. There's a lot to cover. I'm sure you guys won't, well, I don't want to not give you enough credit, but I'm sure you may not absorb everything that I have to say. But we'll have a session for Q&A. My contact info will be available, and I'll be available to answer questions, because more so than you may have questions now, I'll give you at least a lot to think about, because there are different streams you can take towards, making a living while being disabled. So I was hurt about 10 years ago in a deer-related car accident in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I was a student studying college. I went through rehab, went through everything else, and then I went to law. I was studying to be an engineer at the time, quadriplegia engineering. I chose not to pursue that path. I ended up going to law school, I became a patent attorney where I kind of brought my past life and my new disabled abilities together. And you know, that's where I'm at. I was an attorney full-time for about 2 years. I worked as a clerk for a judge. I worked at law firms, all while maintaining my Medicaid services and other things. And then at some point I decided to venture off and start a nonprofit, mainly because I felt there were so many areas in the nonprofit sector, especially for the disabled community, that were, you know, heavily underserved, that really needed help, that really needed, you know, some of the skills and advocacy talents that I had. I tell people ask me all the time, you know, why did you leave being a patent attorney? This obviously doesn't pay as well. I say there's probably 1,000 patent attorneys that can do, thousands of patent attorneys in the city of New York that can do my job. Not many people that can like specifically help in the way that I can for this community. The way that I, you know, Wheeling Forward, which is my organization, we do a lot of different things in terms of, you know, how me and George work together, and I supplement some of the things that he does. I advocate for, you know, make sure everybody has 24-hour home care, you know, advocate equipment denials, push through school accommodations, anything where, you know, our community faces the word no. You know, figure out ways to get past no, make sure nursing homes, you know, file complaints against them all the time if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and, you know, I'm able to use my voice and reach it to other people. Aside from different things, you know, we have a very large wheelchair donation program, you know, things of that nature, and I can go on and on. But I'm going to get to the topic that we actually have to cover. So like I said, if I look down at my phone, it's just because I have a list of stuff I want to make sure I don't miss. Like I said, you know, I've worked full-time, you know, made significant amounts of money over the income limits that, you know, they say by the books that you can, and figured out ways to, you know, be able to do that within the rules and never get in trouble too much. So the 3 topics that I'm going to cover are SSDI and how exactly that works with working, SSI and how that works with working, and Medicaid by itself, because Medicaid, although it's connected to them, it's actually in a world of itself in terms of your ability to maintain your Medicaid. And
can I just ask quickly, how many people are receiving SSI or SSDI? How many people are on Medicaid?
everybody? Yeah.
So
No.
this
No.
information.
Medicare?
Nothing.
Nothing.